Thanks for listening to Fluff and Crunch, where we talk about the connection and sometimes disconnect between system, setting, and story in tabletop RPGs.
But normally we ask what gaming we've done, but
there's so many things. So we're recording now. We haven't recorded. You and I have not recorded in, I don't remember. It was, to
over
say
a
last
month.
year.
It was like the first or second week of December.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a long time ago.
So we are, we're getting back on the same page, but we're going to do that, well, quote unquote, live for the sake of people listening, especially folks who've been with us for 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
As we work through this totally makes sense. So give me the nutshell of what you just said. We'll do or as you wish, and we'll move forward.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm gonna step back. I'd like to think of it as I'm going to step down from being a main cast member to a guest. So I'm not, never say never. I won't be on every single week like TV style, but I might be the odd special guest appearance. Not because I'm moving on to other things to make more money, which is what actors probably do. But yeah, more because
you and I have just, we are rolling in the cash that we have made from this. That is the complete opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it's a combination of scheduling. I mean, we just had a month where I think we've had 5 weeks in a row where we couldn't meet because of scheduling. Plus, there was a week before that where you'd missed it. So it's almost 6 weeks couldn't do it. I can't even do this week at our normals. We're recording on a Tuesday. I don't think we've ever recorded on. No. Tuesday might be the only day of the week that we've never recorded on.
This is a truly special episode then.
Yeah. So, yeah, scheduling. And also, it's like you said, we've been doing this for 3.5 years. We started as a 2D20 podcast. It was only 2D20. And I think after about a year or so, we started bringing in more role playing because we were finding we were kind of going through a lot of the 2D20 stuff.
Really?
After another after 3.5 years of weekly episodes, I've got to the point where I feel like we're struggling sometimes for kind of coming up with content. A lot of the time our content is we come up with it on the day. And so that's a really good idea. Let's do that. And a lot of the standard role playing things we've done, and I'm not really playing a lot at the moment, so I'm finding it hard to talk about things that I'm not playing. We're not doing anything.
It's so true because like we've never, and I'm fine with this. Like I would seek no change in this direction, but like there are some shows, like YouTube shows, for example, that are like RPG industry news focused. Like that's what they do most. Or commentary on a specific kind of system. And it's hard when you're not, I do think that there is a point, and I think, you and I hit this with 2D20, where you're kind of scraping. Yeah. Even if you and I were saying, hey, we're only talking about Achtung Cthulhu and Star Trek Adventures and, whatever, or Dune, whatever, like, oh, that's all, that's our thing, there is a point where even if you are playing those regularly, that you're going to start scraping.
Yeah. The
trouble is, I think, for you and I, is that with those 2D20 games, I think we naturally, like they kind of naturally not ran their course in that, like, oh, I don't like those anymore. I love them. They're great games, but I played the heck out of them for a long time. You played them for a while. And then it's like, okay, now we're looking at other things. We're playing other kinds of games. And so that original focus, it's not there, and it's hard to. And I know that, like, I think that we've done a good job of avoiding, like, just well, we're just going to talk about something generic for the sake of talking about something generic. You know, I not to say like, you know, I'm holding us up as like some kind of like, you know, banners of dignity and decency in gaming, but like we tend to, I think we've talked about things that are of your and my and our experience rather than just plucking something out of the ether and yammering about it.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of really good episodes that if someone was starting role playing, that I'd point them to some of the stuff we've done and say, well, look, we did an episode on exactly that. You know, we've done things on starting campaigns, ending campaigns. continue. You just did one on when you shouldn't continue it. You can just stop.
Yeah.
We've done things on, doing big campaigns or one shots, Christmas episodes, writing it. We've done things on writing and how different systems. And then we've also picked systems. We've gone through and doing reviews. But I think realistically, we've kind of got a relatively niche thing where, short of just doing reviews of role-playing games every week, but we'd be reviewing stuff we're not playing. And we've never really done that. Every time we've tried to do like a decent review of a system, it's generally one we've played.
Yep.
Or
I think that's important
for a system. I do, because I think it's very easy to look at a book and go, well, this is terrible. I mean,
this is what I think, but you don't.
Yeah, we've talked a lot of times about maybe we could do an episode on things like Fate or Powered by the Apocalypse, but these are things we've maybe done like once.
Yeah.
And so it would be a hatchet job. It'd be we didn't like this, and I've read the book and it's rubbish. So we've generally
I don't think that's not genuine. It doesn't actually enable us to say something, for lack of a better word, that's honest about it, because we actually haven't played or run the thing. It's just theory. Yeah, I agree.
So we've not done that, but then that has made it harder for us to do it. I mean, like, it's funny. So one of the things I went back, I did last year, because we thought this was going to be at least an episode looking back at the last year, looking ahead to the next year, regardless of what I'm doing. Yeah. But I went back and I listened to last year's episode, and some of the stuff we said, it pretty much, it all went out of the window for like gaming wise. You said that you were going to play the first 2 books of Kingmaker, which you did not. You played the first book though. And at that point, I'm really on a roll with Castles and Crusades, and then you were kind of, it's petered out.
Well, actually, here's the thing: we did get into the second book. We got about halfway through the second book, but you're absolutely right. Then
that's pretty good then.
Yeah.
But do you remember what you said you were going to mostly do with your gaming in 2024?
Absolutely not.
You said you were going to do at least 2 to 3 months of playing Ares in your 2D20 Ares.
Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't even come close to happening.
No. And and there was, of course, no talk about you playing Traveller, and you've played Traveller for like 4 months or something.
Yeah.
Like you played a chunk
actually
of
since
Traveller.
August. We did a good like 4.5 months of that.
And I said that having played sort of 2 biggish D&D campaigns the previous 2 years, I was going to do a lot of quick starts. I was going to do lots of one-offs. But that didn't happen, because what actually happened is we started playing Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory and really enjoyed it. So we played a lot of one-shots of that. Actually, we didn't really do that. We played like 2 episodes with one set of characters and 2 with another set of characters. We played that for a month. And then I started playing Age of Sigmar Soulbound, which again, I got the campaign book for that, and we played through like 4 or 5 things of that with another episode with some other characters. So having said I'm only going to play one-shots, I then only played 2 systems, which I played for about 3 months at the start of the year. And then I picked up this board game, which we then played it took us 20 sessions to get through playing a board game. And that was
you enjoyed it.
We definitely enjoyed it. Near the end, it felt like more of a struggle. It had got to, we just want this finished. Like, we are playing this now because we knew we were near the end of the story. Like, we were enjoying bits of it, but it got to the point, right, well, we've been playing this now. Like, I don't know if we've played any, maybe our D&D 2nd edition campaign when we were at school, 30 years ago or something.
Yeah.
That's the last time I played something that many sessions. The most we've done, we played something like Strahd, we did in 10 sessions.
Yeah.
We played, 13th Age, we did a 10 session. We've never played anything close to that. And it was a case of we started playing it, we were really enjoying it, and then we started getting sort of near the end, and you could feel you were near the end. And it's rather than like, oh, this is really exciting, it was more of like, oh man, are we not finished yet? And that's why we went away for a weekend to play that, to get it finished, which we did. But I mean, we played that from sort of Easter time pretty much all the way up until the end of September.
Wow.
So that was a huge chunk of that. And then ironically, then the rest of the year we ended up it's a very bizarre thing. It's one of the things you don't know this is going to happen at the start of the year. Sure. So we went away for the weekend and ended up in Nottingham. Because we were in Nottingham, we went to Warhammer World. And because we went to Warhammer World, we decided we wanted to play a bunch of miniatures, and we spent the rest of the year playing 40k and Warhammer miniatures.
Instead of going to a movie and being like, all of a sudden you want to play that movie, you went to the store. And I'm sure they were very happy with that, because I'm sure you dropped money there.
Well,
maybe.
I mean, I didn't play much. I bought a lot of GW stuff. Brian 3D printed a lot of lots
Good.
of ripped off stuff. Did Brian spent he spent a lot on like whatever you call the stuff,
The
filament. I don't know.
filament or whatever. I don't know. I don't
Yes.
have one of
So
those, but yeah.
Brian did a lot of 3D printing. But yeah, I bought stuff and got stuff for Christmas and things.
So
I now have a shelf full of grey plastic.
are you going
Someone
to
said to
paint
me,
any of
Chris,
it?
do I what?
Are you going to paint any of it?
Some of this stuff's quite big. This is when I was playing Marvel, it
That
was
makes
great.
it
Like
easier to paint. Hey, listen, with middle-aged eyes, painting larger minis is a lot
I
easier.
know,
I
but
have
you really
rediscovered
need
that in the last few
really
weeks.
need an airbrush, and I don't have one. And I was going to borrow Brian's, and it turns out the airbrush was this like the airbrush was fine, like a pen thing. The compressor
Yeah, yeah.
that goes with an airbrush was massive, and I'm like, we've got no space to put that.
Mm,
That is not going in the house. That Mika will not be let me have that.
no.
So no. So I've got stuff. I think I'm gonna have to I'll spray it and then do a bit. So some of this stuff might get painted eventually. But yeah, not looking promising.
So what you're saying essentially is that both of our 2024 gaming plans, we started off honest and in earnest, and like life often does, we ended up in a different place by a different route than we
Yeah,
had planned.
very much so.
Very much. I mean, I ended up, we sunset the Castles and Crusades for a variety of reasons, and I was fine with that. I was happy with that. I was the one who asked for it, and everyone was like, "That's cool, we're on board." And we have absolutely loved Traveler. We've been playing that, for the last several months. And now I'm shelving that because I
Ooh.
need to prep. Actually, let's do this. Let's get into 2025, and then we can put a bow on how your status as co-host is changing. There's a foreshadowing. But so what are your plans? What are your awesome plans for gaming for 2025?
I mean, I don't know right now because rather than last
Lie
year,
to
I was
me.
like the last 2 years, like 2 years ago, I had that very clear plan. I am going to play D&D, and
Yep.
I did my part. The other two were a bit slack. Like I managed a reasonable length campaign with a start, a middle, and an end, and the characters leveled up. Um, the one I'd really like to play, and this was the funny thing going back to last year, like the stuff that was coming out in 2024. And one thing I talked about still isn't out a year later, still has not released. And another Skate, which is this sort of cyberpunk fantasy version of City of Mist, is out. And I have this big shiny box now, and I really want to play that. And we almost played that last weekend. But I imagine we'll play some more 40K and Warhammer because we've really enjoyed doing that.
Good.
Um, we bought for his birthday. That's how long ago it was. For Scott's birthday, we bought him there's an aliens miniatures game,
Oh,
which he
I've
says
heard.
he's going to build and paint, which he hasn't. But at some point, I imagine we'll play that for a bit. But last week when we were like, right, I was like, well, I'd like to play this role playing game, but I've read it ages ago, and now I've forgotten. I need to reread it again. So I'd like to play Other Escape at some point this year. We ended up playing this. I've got this Marvel dice and card game called Dice Throne, and I got the Kickstarter turned up for a multiplayer version, not sorry, multiplayer, a cooperative version because it's usually it's a competitive game.
Yeah.
And it has a cooperative version to it. And I was like, that's cool. And what I didn't realize is it has almost like a leveling up system that you can play a session and then you level up and you can play. So I imagine we'll play that but it's not the kind of thing like it doesn't have a story. It's got a mechanic to link sessions together. So I imagine we'll be playing that. We'll play some 40K. We'll probably go and play some more 40K role playing at some point. I imagine I'll play Other Escape, and probably at some point when the monster manual's out, I'll play some D&D again. I did actually play some D&D just before Christmas. Just before Christmas, after I did my Christmas. What did I play this year? Oh, I did my communist goblin thing, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
That went really well.
Good.
Let's get this right around. So my sister-in-law, so Mika's sister, her middle child had started getting into role playing, well, into D&D, and they were playing, I don't know, one of the box things, but they said they didn't really understand it. Could I run a session? And so on, I think Christmas Eve, I ended up running a session for like 6 or 7 people. It was like Mika and Annie, and then so her sister Shelley, and yeah, all 3 of her kids and her partner. But then, yeah, one of them like dropped out halfway through, so we just suicided, like blazed of glory his character because he was like, I'm bored now, I'm not bothered.
Great opportunity.
But yeah, it was kind of like, right, so I don't know whether I'm running for sort of 5, 6, or 7 people. So I just created 8 characters. Like, in fact, ChatGPT did virtually all of it. It was loads of
Great
stuff
use
on
of it.
ChatGPT, please, can you create me a simplified character for this thing? You know, I'd be like, I want an elf wizard. And it would do it like, it would tell, you know, I got it to take out the skills and I put them on character sheets. And I did a really simple story, which again, I just gave it a framework. ChatGPT created it. And I ran that for sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours. No, it can't be 2 hours. It was about an hour and a half on the night for sort of 7 people. And they all really enjoyed it. So that went well. So I have actually played some D&D. But...
Good.
And again, I had basically no rule books. It does show you literally can play D&D with like character sheets and some dice.
Totally.
You don't.
If you've got the head canon, you can absolutely. It's quite.
It's just
easy,
not hard.
especially the lower.
If you have access to ChatGPT to create everything for you, it's crazy what that thing can do. Anyway, right, 2025. Yeah, so that's That's my rough plan. How about you? So you're shelving Traveler. What are you going to play?
Okay, so here's the deal. We have been playing Traveler for a couple of months, and for my 4 players had never played it before, and it's been a delight. The system is super simple at the table. There's enough, like if I want to get crunchy in the prep, I can, or if I don't want to, I can just hand wave that stuff. And it's the combination of stuff I've made up myself and published adventures, they have meshed well together. And we're hitting like if this were a book, we would be hitting the end of a book in a series. And so I thought about it, and we thought about this. There's this massive sandbox campaign that Mongoose published several years ago that I have called The Pirates of Drinax, where you become privateers for this wannabe empire that wants to like rebuild itself. Anyway, it's huge. It's amazing. The content for it is great, but to do it right takes a lot of prep.
Right.
And so I thought, I really want to run this. I swung it by them as like, here are some options. Here are some ideas as to what we want to do with Traveler when this book ends. And this was one of them. And then they all said, oh, that sounds so cool. And there are a couple of things within the game, within the like where they are in space right now in the Imperium and where this takes place, that it's a significant distance. And so you can't just like, hey, you're there next week or something like that. I mean, it's actually several months worth of travel to get them. So I was thinking, okay, well, I've got to fold time and space story-wise to put them there and have it make sense to my satisfaction and theirs too. And then I realized, like, if I'm going to do this right, I have to prep. I'm going to have to sit down and just read these books. You know, I've talked about this. Like, one of the challenges of running a published adventure is that if you want to do it right, especially one that has a good story in it with foreshadowing and recurring characters you have to do the research. You can't just be a page ahead. It's not like running a 32-page module from first edition D&D.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just one room at a time, you know?
Yeah, when I ran Strad, I had the advantage. I think Annie had some cheer competition, and I sat there in between, because a cheer competition, you're there all day, but it's 3-5-minute sessions of her dancing or something. And I sat there and read through Strad in this thing in a good chunk of a day, because I couldn't do anything else. I had no internet access. I had a lot of time. I sat there and read through a good chunk of the book. So, and yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't. Yeah, it's like you said. It's things like the characters and the foreshadowing. If you don't do that, then people, oh crap, I'd forgotten this thing. Or the characters. Oh, you've met this character before. Oh, it says you've met this character before. So yeah.
Well, and two, this is a sandbox. And there are, the campaign is made up of a number of different adventures, and then they provide all kinds of little stubs and ideas, places and NPCs and like little plot threads and things like that. But to do it well, to actually reach the potential that it offers, it's going to take prep time. And I was like, well, this is going to take me more than a month, because, just like life, I mean, so what I thought of is, wait a minute, why don't I shelve this campaign for a couple of months so that I have this time at a leisurely but measured pace to do the prep that I want to, And why don't we do? And I thought, well, and I'm glad you're sitting when you hear what I'm going to tell you here. We are shelving the camp. We probably have 2 sessions left. And then we are going to shelve the campaign for probably about 3 months, maybe 4 on the outside. So through spring. We are going to play Dungeons and Dragons 3.5.
Oh God, why?
Eberron. Now here's why. Here's why. Here's why.
The Eberron swings it, but
here's why. Okay, here's why. I know Eberron. I have all of the 3.5 books, the original Eberron setting book, the campaign, all the different hardbacks that were pumped out 20 years ago. I have all of them, or almost 20 years ago. I know them like the back of my hand. I know the world like the back of my hand. And I thought, okay, crap. Well, Eberron would be fun because it would not take very much headspace for me to do it and feel like I'm doing it well. And none of them have ever played in Eberron. They've done the stupid 5th edition thing where they've like incorporated Eberron because everything's a kitchen sink now. You've got an artificer and you're whatever, you sit, blah, 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 blah. So they are aware of some of the bits and bobs of Eberron, but they have never played in Eberron. And for me, after having read all the 3.5 content, after having seen what they did to the canon and the mechanics in 4th edition and the same in 5th edition, for me, the only version of Eberron worth playing is 3.5.
Yeah.
So then I got thinking, well, gee, okay, what system do I want to run this in? I was like, there is no freaking way I'm running 5th edition because of the change. I hate 5th edition, but also I really don't like how some of the Eberron specific stuff, like the dragon marks, was changed. So I was like, I don't want to do that. The whole idea of running a campaign that has a very specific fuse to it, I have the story in my head, like I already know where it's going to end, which, by the way, is something I picked up from a conversation with someone on X. This guy said that he only nowadays, he runs campaigns that he starts off with the end already clear in his head. So everything is like, it may not be X many sessions, but like this is the story I'm going to run. So I was like, I've never done that before. That's what I'm going to do with this Eberron story. And I thought, if I go ahead and like use a different system, like, if I try to use Eris or what, then it defeats the purpose of me clearing room in my head and my prep time to prepare for one campaign while I'm running a different one.
That makes sense. It's funny that 3rd edition is the only edition I've not. No, I never played 1st, but I started with basic, then 2nd.
Yeah,
and I missed the whole of 3 and 3.5.
Yeah,
so I missed when the only time I've seen Eberron is, basically in 4th, and then 5th. I mean, I didn't play 4th a lot. I bought a ton of 4th,
sure,
but then realized very quickly it was incredibly hard to actually manage without it'd be easy now. If you had apps, like with the
totally
D&D Beyond now, that'd be amazing for 4th edition. Unfortunately, that didn't exist in 4th edition.
No. There are other problems with it too, but I just was like, wait a minute. So then I thought, well, gee, what if I just use Pathfinder 1st edition? And then I went, wait a minute. I could just cheat and just not convert anything, and it really wouldn't matter. Then I went, screw that. I'll just use 3.5.
Yeah.
I went back and I found, packed away in a box, my 3.5 core books. And I read them and I was like, I could totally live with this. This is fine. There are so many things. Actually, there are so many things in it that I kind of miss. Like, in 3.0, 3.5 land, a high attribute for spellcasters would give you bonus spells. Well, that makes sense.
Well, I still like difference. I mean, I kind of like the way that skills work. You could be better at some skills than others.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pain to manage.
Yeah, there are advantages.
Like
so here's what I'm doing is I have my players are allowed to use the player's handbook only, and Eberron, the Eberron campaign set.
I mean, you have to do something like that with 3.5.
Oh my golly, no, yeah, the giant, like the 3-foot high stack of splat was like, no way in hell. And actually, a lot of them have not ever, didn't ever play it or barely played it. And so we're just going to feats There it is right there, because that's your killer in that series of the game is feats. Just, they provide so many options and then bloat. So player's handbook and Eberron campaign setting only. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just running everything straight out of the books. It
Yeah,
makes
that's
life
pretty cool.
way easier. And like I said, I have an end in mind. We're gonna do a tour of, not a bunch of, I'm not gonna, because I know some of my players listen to this, so I'm not gonna tip my hand as to anything as to what kinds of high adventure they're gonna have. But I'm really looking forward to it. So we're gonna do that for a couple months while I prep for Traveler, and then we will move back to Traveler, and I figure I haven't mapped that out yet as to how far I want to go, because I know that, like, when I hit like the 4 to 5 month mark, I start to get like kind of antsy about whatever it is I'm running, because there's so many other good games out there. And so if
I love it that for you it takes 4 to 5 months, and for me it's like 4 to 5 sessions.
you know, so my hope, my plan is to do the Eberron story, end it, go to Pirates of Drinax, and what I'm going to do is we're going to advance the timeline in the Traveler campaign by about a year, and we'll do some narrative. We might even use some of the tables in the book that you use during character creation to have like events happen to you and stuff like that.
That's cool.
But we're going to advance we're going to adjust the characters a little bit, and to make room in the story that makes sense to get them as far away from where they are now to where they're going to be then. And I figure we'll play that for several months, and there will be a stopping point as I'm doing this planning where I'll say, okay, this is where I think, my head, we're going to stop Pirates of Drinax, and then maybe move to something else. So that is my plan for
That's a good
for
chunk of this
year.
year. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's hilarious. I'm like, I can't believe I mean, I thought I'd go back in time to a D&D, an older D&D version, especially one that when 3.5 lost it for me. Well, I mean, they just pulled it. They moved to fourth edition, but it did become bloated and cumbersome, just like Pathfinder First Edition became bloated and cumbersome. And then I realized, wait, there's a lot of good in this system if I just close the doors to where all the bloat and encumbrance is sitting. So that's what we're going to do. And last thing on this, we are going to go ultra old school on this. Only paper at the table. There will be no iPads.
I only do that anyway.
Good for you. There will be
I've
We're
never.
going to go way old school when there weren't digital tools. We're gonna party like it's 2002.
Even, I mean, technically we have digital versions of the character sheets, but we reprint them every session. Not every session, but every time they level up. Like the whole time through Strahd, and when we played the D&D campaign, that's what we did. We had these nice character sheets that would do some auto calculations, but
Yeah.
we printed them because we like having them written in front of us, and then you can write notes on them and stuff. I would never use a tablet at the table. I'd be a complete pain in the arse.
Yeah.
They're
There
not
are
big
some
enough
things
for a start.
there are some things in Traveler, like using the Traveler map. There are times when you say, all right, your character is this experienced pilot or Marine or something like that who served in these different places you would have knowledge of. Or as you're trying to plot your jump route from A to B, you have options. And there are advantages and disadvantages depending on the route you get through the systems you're going through. So in that case, using the Traveler map on a tablet actually becomes a cool in-game tool that blurs the lines. The problem, though, is that when you put the device in the hand of the player, the player is like this. Oh yeah, I'm paying attention. Bullshit. You're not paying attention. You're piddle screwing around on something else. So I'm just nope. No devices, none at all. We'll use that with Traveler. And so that is my plan. Now, it's funny that you mentioned minis, because I decided, this was back in December, I was like, I should paint more stuff.
Oh, you're going to go proper grid and minis on the.
Well, I'm going to have to. I mean, for 3.5, it's easier especially with all the. It's not as bad. It's not nearly as bad as fourth edition.
Yeah, you can't do full
No,
theater of the
without
mind.
it. But no, I'm gonna do that. And so I started. I got a small red dragon, about yay big, mini, and I painted that a couple weeks ago, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I got a Warforged Titan, which is about the size of my fist because it's Eberron, and I did that one up. I'm painting some other things that I won't mention on the show because I don't want my players to be like, oh, he's going to use one of them. Um, but I'm really enjoying painting. Actually, I'm really enjoying, and I'll tell you the truth. The bigger minis are a heck of a lot easier, even with glasses on middle-aged eyes. So I'm trying to
That is
get my
true.
like chops back by painting these larger things. So you could start there. That's my plan. And here's what I want to extract a promise from you because I'm not going to lose track of you. You are, I don't want to sound schmaltzy, but like you become a friend,
Yeah.
and I value that. And I don't, I know our schedules don't, and just perspectives on like how we proceed and stuff. And I'm gonna talk through Eberron for the next couple of months by and large. I'm gonna then talk about Pirates of Drinax and stuff. And so I'm gonna pester you and I'm gonna drag you on periodically. And I ask you that if you think of something like, hey, I want to talk about this, let me know.
Yeah.
I don't poke you about it, and that we do that.
No, that's what I'd love to do rather than feeling like beholden to having to cram in an episode every week
Yeah,
with nothing to
it's
talk
hard.
about
It's hard.
and trying to make sure we meet as well to be able to, yeah, wait. Oh, I've got this really good idea. So let's pick a date we can meet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and
yeah. And actually, because it's trying to, it's just try, it'd be easier if it's just trying to fit everything in.
yeah,
There is finite time and trying to fit everything in is difficult.
it
It
is.
was like I say, it was easier when I was part time, and obviously when we started recording, it was COVID. I'm not even sure I was
Yep.
I was back to work because it was 21. It wasn't 22. It was a
Yeah,
strange time,
yeah.
but yeah, obviously then, but I was part time, and going back full time has made it more difficult to.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, it's funny that it's like at the time I was like, yeah, it's fine, I can fit everything in, and actually after a while, it's like, yeah, trying to fit everything in is quite tricky.
Quite
But
challenging. So,
life.
so that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I know life. So that's what we're gonna do. We are going to. You are still a co-host, but you'll be a special guest star.
Yeah.
You know, uh, that
If
will
you ever manage
happen.
to get an interview with Chris Birch, I'll come on for that one.
There we go. Yeah, good luck.
So we don't talk about 2D20. The thing is, it's not our fault we don't talk about 2D20. If they were releasing quality stuff that we could talk about,
Yeah,
like when they release whatever that might and magic thing is, yeah, I'd love to come on and talk about
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. I won't complain. But yeah, I don't think necessarily that they're just releasing things in which I don't have a whole lot of interest right now. And it's so
I
it's
know.
and like we said earlier, we never wanted to be shills, one. And two, we're not going to talk about something that we like. I just read it and I have only mild interest in it. I have nothing to say about it. I'm going to have to manufacture enthusiasm. That's
Yeah.
disingenuous. I don't want to do
Well,
that.
we did do that. We did it for Homeworld, and probably we shouldn't have because all we basically said was Homeworld's rubbish.
Well, but we were
Don't.
honest about it.
Yeah.
We were honest
But
about it. I mean, honestly,
it,
there was no shilling involved there.
I mean, the thing is, I had actually bought that. I mean, since then,
Yeah.
they have actually been good at giving us PDFs for stuff. But like Homeworld is something I put my own money into,
Yep.
and then was pretty
Fair game.
disappointed. And what a lackluster product it was. But
Fair game. Totally fair game. Well,
but yeah,
this is
I don't really know what they're working on at the moment. I mean, they're still doing Star Trek, obviously, and they're still
yeah,
doing Acting Cthulhu stuff keeps coming out. But
yeah,
beyond that, I know this Might and Magic thing is coming out. I feel like they've moved much more into sort of the miniatures and board game
I
space.
agree.
Because I assume because you can make a lot more money out
Yeah,
of those.
maybe.
I mean, the only people who really that we understand make really good money out of role playing games would be D&D, and
Yeah.
that's because it's D&D, and they don't actually release a lot.
No.
Look at their releases; they're on like what I mean.
Well,
They released the player's handbook
they've-
in September. We haven't got the monster manual yet.
they're also busy trying to alienate and piss off and whatnot pieces of their fan base. So yeah, Wizards there's a big old question mark that's like hovering over Seattle with them. But yeah, it's a good point.
I do find it funny. I think I understand why they're doing what they're doing. I don't think they've thought about. You could see that D&D was trying to let's be inclusive for everyone, and I don't know, going too far isn't the right word, but they've maybe not thought about the fact that some of their audience isn't bothered by that, and you could always in D&D you could always do whatever you wanted.
Put it, but
trying to push it in people's faces just made it a bit too. It rubbed some people up the wrong way. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah, and
they've done now is alienate some of their like longer things
and
to try and maybe grasp it. It's pointless. You didn't need to.
What have they done mechanically? Let's face it, all the races, species, whatever the hell you want to call them, they're all the same.
Yeah, they have a handful of racial.
There's nothing like they've destroyed the uniqueness of. Anyway, maybe I'm never going to buy that stuff, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about, and I'm not going to pirate it, so I won't know. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bother you. You're going to bother me. We're going to stay in contact.
Yeah.
We're going to take the pressure of this off us so we can come back together periodically, talk about cool stuff, and keep gaming in the way that we are in this in 2025. Thank you so much for listening. You can visit our show's homepage at anchor.fm/Fluff and Crunch. That's FLUFFNCRUNCH. We would really appreciate feedback and reviews on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. Thanks so much.